Hello, my name is Charles, otherwise known as C-Rad on Discord, and I recently joined the VBL as coach of the Centiskorch gang, and this is my second season playing in VBL. I do not remember what my first season was, but I didn't do so well. I got like one win, but hopefully I can do better this season. So for those in the VBL who do not know me, allow this video to be my introduction. For those who do know me, but maybe aren't familiar with the VBL, I'll go ahead and be breaking down what this draft is all about and just going into my team and why I picked my Pokemon. So, about this draft, it was using the Champions format, MA, so this is my first time doing this, and so I didn't really know what to expect. The only thing I knew about the format is that there's a pretty limited pool, so I wasn't sure how that would go, but yeah. There are 4 divisions that make up 2 conferences. The Charizard and Drampa together, and the Tyranitar and Frostlass divisions are together. As you saw from the first slide, I'm in the Frostlass division. Each of the conferences are going to draft the same board, but in the regular season, the coaches from the division, I believe it's a 7-week regular season, and all the coaches from the division will play each other in that regular season. The conferences have 16 coaches each, 8 per division. So it's pretty simple. There's 32 coaches in the entire league. Anyway, there's a point-based draft system. So 20 points being for the strongest Pokemon, would be for the weakest. And we had 100 points to work with that we must use to draft exactly 11 Pokemon. A few other niche rules. There's no limit on the megas, and I thought this was actually a very good rule because it is such a limited board, such limited Pokemon for us to pick. So not having any restrictions on Mega made Snipes a lot easier to recover from. For me in particular, it was really helpful, actually. And I'm sure for other people it was too, because I think every team got sniped at least once. It was a very, very tight draft. Yeah, and the last thing is kind of another difficulty, made it kind of fun, was there's no grace period. I thought there was a grace period while I was drafting, so at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna double up on this type, just go from there, and to just make trades in the grace period. I looked at the rules, there's no grace period. I'm like, okay, well, time to struggle, I guess. But overall, it's a pretty fun draft. I'm pretty happy with the team, but let's go ahead and get into the strategy. It's pretty simple. A lot of my planning was based off of what was done and a lot of the thoughts that were made on a mock draft that happened beforehand. I did not participate in the mock draft, but a lot of people were talking about it. One of the things that was said, or that a lot of people were saying, was that there should be a lower point total. And they said that it was really hard to fill out an entire team with the 100 points. There's a lot of points left over. And basically what that told me was, okay, so I have a lot of room to get a lot of high value Pokemon, right? So I can make a high level core. And that's what I really wanted. That's what I really wanted to do. Because, I mean, there's a lot of really good value picks low, but it's really hard the lower you go to build like a stable core. And like even if it is like really high value, like the high level core is just gonna help you out way more. With these Pokemon are pricier for it. But yeah. With that, I wanted to get for my first pick, I wanted to get a very strong and versatile Mega. And I wanted to get it early because like I had no idea what to expect from this draft. I didn't know what was going to be good, what was going to be bad. So I wanted to, or how often I was going to get sniped. So I wanted to make sure I could get something that could be flexible and I could build basically anything around. And I wanted at least, I knew I wanted at least 2 megas. I feel like you had to have at least 2 megas, right? But from there, once I got to a place where I was comfortable with a core, I was going to then fill in the rest of the team with value picks. For the most part, I stuck to this plan. It's a little iffy, especially with like the early part. I didn't spend quite as much as I expected to, but I think it still works, at least somewhat. But yeah, So for my first pick, I did get this really strong Mega, and I decided to get a 16-point Mega Delphox. There was a Pokemon that I felt like was a war crime in value, which ended up being my second pick, and I felt like Delphox was a really good partner for that. But even if I didn't get this second Pokemon that I wanted, Delphox is extremely fast to the point where, like, that alone just makes it, in my opinion, very flexible. It has a lot of good utility, and yeah, like with the, and just with it, like it being so fast, like it can do basically anything. Like a fast Pokemon like this, no matter what plan you have with it, like it's gonna execute that plan. As long as there's no like misses or anything, it's just gonna like do what you want it to do, and that's really great. On top of that, it had a desirable offensive typing, desirable offensive capabilities for the next Pokemon that I wanted. It's very flexible, prep no matter what, and again, it's easy to draft around, it's easy to build around, so even despite all the snipes, I should be in a pretty decent spot in theory, like no matter what. Like, yeah, like anything I could recover from is kind of what I felt like Mega Delphox was able to let me do. And for my second pick, I did get exactly what I wanted to pair with Mega Delphox, and I think this was probably one of the best value Pokemon, and it's Eternal Floette for 10 points. The reason I wanted it with Delphox is obviously because the only thing that Floette cannot hit is Steel and Poison types, which Delphox deals with quite handily. But otherwise, I thought this Pokemon was just ridiculously high value. Like, great offensive synergy. Delphox, you know, compared to some of the other fairies higher than it, such as like Primarina, Sylveon, you know, whatnot. Those are the two that are coming to my mind right now, but others, Azumarill, this one just felt, it just felt like a no-brainer. Like, it's such a strong fairy for 10 points in a format that's so limited for offensive fairy types. Like, I just had to go for it. And also, Light of Ruin being 10 points felt ridiculous to me. You know, because like, for like perspective, like it has 140 base power. That's the same base power as like a Blood Moon from Ursaluna. It doesn't have the same special attack set, it's a little lower, and the drawback's a little more harsh, but it's also a fairy type, like, which is way better than like a normal type move, you know, if we're just comparing it to Blood Moon alone. It's a 10-point nuke button. Like, no matter how you look at it, it's it seemed really, really valuable to me. Maybe people disagree, but I thought 10 points was just an absolute war crime for this Pokemon, and I just had to go for it. But yeah, next up on the for what we got is going to be the Noivern. This one was 9 points. Just like fairy types felt really limited, Fast Tailwind also felt very hard to find. I forget, people were talking about it a lot. I think there's only like 4 or 5 Pokemon with Tailwind that hit above 100 speed, and like one of them's Pidgeot. So I saw this for 9 points, a good dragon type to kind of get this fantasy core started. And so I was like, yeah, Noivern's great. So we have fast Tailwind support for the Floette, which I really wanted, because again, I think Floette is so good. It gives me a solid dragon type, give her start that core. Frisk is just a really good ability in Draft League. Even though there is a limited item pool, it's still good to have that information, like just off the rip at any time. And overall, it's just a really good support piece. Just get a lot of utility moves. Like, for 9 points, this just felt very, very valuable, despite the fact that it's not quite as expensive as maybe I was hoping to go to start. And to kind of round out the 3 of these, because right now we have 3 fast special attackers. To kind of round this out, round 4, I ended up getting Mega Kangaskhan. Now, Mega Kangaskhan, I actually really considered drafting first over Delphox, because, as my first point says, I think this Pokemon just has absurd versatility. It's got very good coverage, it has access to things like priority, it gives me a fake out user with Scrappy on a Delphox team. Like, yes, please, that sounds really great. You're just good type synergy overall. and it doesn't need to mega. Like, it's a Pokemon that gets a lot of value out of that mega, but it never really needs to. And I felt like that alone made it worth the extra 8 points than it would be to get just regular Kangaskhan. Because like regular Kangaskhan is 10 points in this on this board, but it does get that item versatility. But I think the Mega Stone is just so broken because it gives you that option to just boost your base stat total by 100 points. And in such a low power format like this, that seems really nice. So I was more than happy, especially with going a little bit cheaper than I wanted to with the draft. I was more than happy to spend 18 on this Pokemon. I think it's well worth it. But yeah, it really rounds out the core, great coverage and support, and unlike the other Pokemon, which are pretty frail, this thing is very hard to take down. 105, 100, 100 defense spread is very good. Very good. With only being weak to one type, like I think this Pokemon just looked like one of the best, and it was 18 points, right? So, and then a 20 point system, it reflects that on the tier list. But yeah, Mega Kangaskhan. And at this point, I feel very confident in a core. Like, I have the top 4 core Pokemon I think are really good. So I'm gonna start from this point on. I wanted to start dipping down to high value. And I started off with Rodriguez. I actually wanted Spirit Tomb, but before I wanted Spirit Tomb, before I noticed Spirit Tomb was on the list at 6 points, I was really tunnel visioned on Rodriguez, and so I ended up picking Rodriguez kind of impulsively. Either way, I think it's still a great Pokemon. It gives me Trick Room on a team that's pretty fast. It gives me that that low speed tier with the ability to set or reset Trick Room. And among that, it's got other just really good utility options. It's got really good bulk. Its HP is pretty low, but its bulk is so high that it should get a lot of value out of the hit points it does have. It's got the funny ability, Wandering Spirit. I don't know how useful it's gonna be, but it's really funny to have it. And honestly, I got this because I've been wanting to use it since Gen 8, and I never did. So, yeah, this is a Pokemon I've always felt like this Pokemon was really good, even back in Gen 8. That I really, really wanted to give it a shot here. So, I did win Spirit Tomb. I really like Spirit Tomb, but I think Rodriguez is just as good. And yep. So we'll go ahead and move on, and we got Umbreon. So Umbreon is a little interesting on this team. First things first. For 6 points, it's really great value. Like, not quite the same value, in my opinion, as like Floette was at 10, but 6 point Umbreon is really, really ridiculous value, in my opinion. But basically, I felt really weird after the Rodriguez pick. I didn't really know where my draft was heading, and I saw a higher level Pokemon that ended up being my next pick. And I'll just say it was Aegislash. Like, I saw Aegislash at 15 points open on the board, and I was like, wow, Aegislash would be so nice to give me extra utility, give me that good steel type. But I didn't want to use it with. I was really scared of using it with Delphox because there's a lot of overlap, a lot of weaknesses that overlap with each other, meaning that those two in tandem would be very easy to pin. And the way that I thought to get around this was through Umbreon. I think before that, I had also thought about using Azumarill, but Azumarill ended up getting picked, so I didn't get it. But Umbreon is much more valuable, and I think it still works just as well. And because it makes it so much harder to pin this team, it makes a really good backbone. Right? On top of that, it's very disruptive. As I said, phenomenal value. It's also a comfort pick for me. I've won 2 leagues, and Umbreon was a Pokemon I used in one of them. And so I'm very, very high on this Pokemon. It's really, really, really good. And to go back with us saying Aegis Slash, I decided to pick it before Aegis Slash. Like I feel like I needed the Aegis Slash one. That's like where I was at. I really need Aegis Slash for the team to be like at least decent. But I was willing to risk the Aegis Slash because I didn't think it could function without the Umbreon, with what was left on the board. But Umbreon, I felt like, could still function without the Aegis Slash. So therefore, if one of the two were to get sniped, I would want Aegis Slash to get sniped over the Umbreon, which is why I picked it first. But none of them got sniped, so my next pick was Aegis Slash. I thought about being a little greedy and like waiting to get this Pokemon, but like I said, it just felt so important to the point where I wasn't willing to do that. Anyway, Aegis Slash, Steel type that finishes my Fantasy Core, one that's really good. It's that high tier, option. Great offense utility, great support utility. It gets things like Wide Guard. It has just a lot more to offer than the lower tiered steals, because I would have had to go, like, if I wanted to fill out the Fantasy Core, which I probably did want to, I would have had to get a very low value steel type, which probably would have felt pretty bad, right? Because like my core, my first 4 Pokemon, that's a pretty fast paced core. A lot of these steel types kind of slow, want to set up, don't really get a lot going. Aegis Slash can keep up with what I have. Whether I want to go slow with the Rodriguez, whether I want to go fast with Delphox and Floette, Aegis Slash can keep up. And kind of like Umbreon, it's kind of providing that additional backbone and making my team a lot more difficult to effectively pin down. So yeah, just the fact that it can keep up with my team despite its low speed, and the fact that it supports the team really well, supports the core, made me really value this pick. Yeah, because I think at the same point value was Mega Scizor, which I thought about, but that ended up getting picked. So Aegis Slash, I really wanted this. I'm very, very happy that I got it, because I think it makes my team a lot scarier. Anyway, with my next pick is basically from here on out, I'm just kind of filler. I feel very good about the cores I can create. So my next pick is going to be Superior. Now for 5 points, it felt like very, very good value for the grass type. Out of all the grass types left, it probably felt like one of the better value ones. So that was valuable, in my opinion. But the reason I wanted the grass type in general is because my team doesn't have a good for water types, and Superior kind of gives me that, On top of being able to do this, it does have good support tools, right? So it's not just a grass type. It's not just a grass type for my team. It's not just a water answer for my team. It's also able to provide a lot of things that my team doesn't already have, such as, speed control with glare, things like that. I can run leech seed support, and then obviously it has that setup with Leaf Storm. My team doesn't have a lot of ways to set up super well, so being able to apply pressure and set up at the same time, I think is something really good that none of my other teams do. So that really put a lot of additional value for me with the Superior. But the main reason I wanted it is because I did need something that can deal with the water type threats, and Superior is that for me. So yeah, simple filler. And the next pick ended up being one I did not expect to get at all, and also kind of has a bit of an interesting story to it. And it's going to be Mega Greninja. Now, at this point in the draft, kind of like I didn't really have great options to deal with water types, I also don't have the options I want to deal with fire types. And a lot of the water types were kind of going fast. A lot of the mid-tier and lower tier ones I just wasn't liking. With the points I had really 2 options to get higher tier ones. And they were Mega Greninja and Palafin. Palafin was 13 points. I could have afforded it with this draft, just 2 extra points. But Palafin didn't really feel like it had the utility I wanted. Right? With Palafin, it wants to lead a lot, but so does my Mega Delphox, right? Because I want to get that Mega off as soon as I can if I have Delphox on my team. So it kind of creates a bit of anti-synergy. Whereas Greninja doesn't have that anti-synergy. It's a Pokemon that's has much more immediacy to it. It can just hit the field and do what I need it to do, which felt really valuable. And because it's that water type with that high versatility, that was really where I saw fit to get this. Even though it does give me an extra dark type, my team would already have 2 ghosts, a psychic, which in that sense makes it pretty good. But there's already a lot of type overlap in my team, is what I'm getting at. So that's a little awkward, but it still works because it can deal with those fire types. It can hit other water types, which is nice, which Palafin doesn't do as well. Because like Protean, we can use things like Grass Knot and also just Dark Pulse for good damage. But kind of going off that, it's got a diverse move pool, gives it a lot of versatility, a lot of flexibility compared to that Palafin, as mentioned. And despite it being a Mega, I feel like this one also does not need to Mega on this team, because it still has a really good speed stat. I think it's like 122. Maybe I'm wrong with that. I need to look at it, but yeah, this thing does not need the Mega. It does suck to be limited to that Mega Stone, but also with the Kangaskhan, what the Kangaskhan hopefully will show is that the Mega Stone's a really broken item, just because it is that free 100 point stat boost. So this thing gives me a lot of flexibility among other things that my team wants. Meanings, this just felt like the correct pick out of everything. And for these last 2 picks, just kind of very, very filler. The first one's Ampharos. Having electric type is nice. Good synergy with Rodriguez. It's slow. It can use, electric moves like Discharge next to it. I mean, ground electric is just a great combo anyway. I don't know how good it's gonna be with Rodriguez really, but I feel like it makes sense. It looked better than all the 2 and 4 pointers. You can argue that. That's whatever. It's also cute. I mean, this is a Pokemon that it does things, it offers things, it gives me a type that the rest of the team doesn't have. it's like that. But for the last one, we just got Pinsir for 2 points. Pinsir does a couple of things. The big thing is that it doesn't overlap the rest of the team. The higher, I have 2 points remaining, as you can see right here. I have 2 points remaining at this point, even though this is my last pick. The thing is, the 4 and 3 pointers had overlap with my team. Pinsir did not have that. Also, I didn't even realize this at the time, but Pinsir's got really good stats for a 2-pointer. 125 attack for a 2-point Pokemon is pretty good. It also has decent coverage from moveset. It's got good abilities. Pinsir's not bad. Pins are bad, but Pins are not bad. But yeah, without that's all of the team. My overall thoughts on the draft. I think it went about as well as I could have hoped. It's not the best team I could have hoped for, but it's solid. I looked at the other teams, and all the matchups at least look playable. So yeah, for a first Champions draft, I'm pretty happy. I'm very excited to use it. Again, a lot of things I didn't expect. Got sniped quite a bit, but yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So that's gonna be all, and I will be hopefully be recording all my matches, whether it's Showdown or Champions, burn out. So I look forward to that. So yeah, that's all I got. Bye.